Well, welcome to a very special episode of the 12th Man podcast. It is into the final hour of deadline day, and as you can see, all the big breaking stories are running across your screen there at the bottom, including Jadon Sancho closing in on a loan deal to Chelsea with an obligation to buy for £25 million. Chelsea feel that they've got a real bargain. We're also hearing that Arsenal are closing in on a loan deal for Raheem Sterling. Reece Nelson on his way to Ipswich for a loan deal. So you can see the domino effect. Chelsea are still pushing for Osimhen from Napoli, but that is now looking increasingly unlikely. Chelsea again failing by the looks of things. With 55 minutes left, they bring in a striker in this window, which has been a problem. Man United have just announced in the last 30 minutes or so that Manuel Ugarte is a Manchester United player. Scott McTominay has moved to Napoli for a fee of around £25 million. Billy Gilmore set to join him. He's going to Napoli as well in a deal worth around £13 million. So Napoli really going after
Scottish connection.
Premier League players. And of course, Antonio Conte is building a squad there. Obviously brought in Lukaku as well in the last day or so. Elsewhere, there's still plenty going on. Earlier on, we see Newcastle have a £35 million bid rejected for Elanga from Nottingham Forest. They also failed in their pursuit. They bring Mark Gahey in. He was a long-term target. So much happening out there. James Ward-Prowse has joined Nottingham Forest on loan. So many loan deals happening elsewhere, Owen. It seems like a really frantic end of the window. We've got, 54 minutes or so left, and a lot of deals still hanging in the balance. I mean, it feels like we've had a proper deadline day.
Aye. Well, if you don't support our two clubs, that is. But aye, it was sort of picking up just as we went off air in the earlier podcast because it was looking like Sterling the Arsenal was dead in the water, and now it's being closely done. So something must have changed in the last 2 to 3 hours. So no, this is what you want, but you want deals going left, right, and centre, don't you? And having a good end of the window. But as I said earlier, Sterling the Arsenal, it's a very interesting deal, but I don't think he'll be a guaranteed starter there. Starter.
Yeah, more news coming in. And it looks like now that Victor Osimhen will remain at Napoli, and that deal to go to Chelsea will not happen.
What
So
happens there
whilst
then with
Chelsea,
Lukaku? Like I know he's
well,
already there, but
whilst Chelsea have been very busy in this window, it looks like they're going to fail again. They land a striker. There was that argument they had last year. They signed so many players, didn't bring in a striker. And again, that now looks like they will not bring in that striker. They've missed out on Victor Osimhen. They've missed out on Ivan Toney. And again, more attacking midfielders coming in. And it raises a massive question on. And we'll stick with the Osimhen story at the moment because have Chelsea really got a plan when they're going to sign these players? Because so many players, they're almost like opportunistic signings. With Sancho today, João Felix a few days ago. They've spent big money on Mudryk, Pedro Neto, Madueke, Cole Palmer. But again, it looks like another summer window has passed without Chelsea identifying that real top striker that they've been sought for so long. Because Nicholas Jackson, whilst he is a young striker that possibly could improve, Chelsea wanted a more prolific one. And again, it looks like they've missed out.
aye, and as you say, you sort of don't know what's going on, like because it's been what now 3 4 years that they haven't had a top class striker, and obviously it begs the question: why didn't they chase Osimhen earlier in the window? Like they could have had this done like in June, July, like. So God knows what they're doing, but it's just it feels like they need they're playing FIFA career mode. They just they just don't know. They just have. It seems like anyway they just have an unlimited budget that they can just spend on anything, but they just can't seem to get that top class striker over the line. So whether or now they persist with Jackson or they play Felix up there is going to be a very interesting balancing act because, as you say, they have a lot of wide players and a lot of attacking midfielders, but they their options up at top of the pitch isn't great.
Yeah, deal done. Bolly Gilmore joins Napoli. Earlier, a fee of around 12.5 million pound, um, and they've strengthened that midfield with McTominay and Gilmore around about 38 million pound for the two of those. Now, whilst Chelsea have failed, they land Victor Osimhen. It would seem now, never say never on deadline day. Things can change pretty rapidly, but that would be something if they were able to turn that around at this stage of the night with just 50 minutes or so to go.
Yep.
But it does look increasingly likely that they are going to bring Jadon Sancho on loan with an obligation, which means he will be a Chelsea player this time next year for
Yep.
£25 million. I mean, let's get the Chelsea side of it first before we bring in the Man United side of Jadon Sancho. But that doesn't sound like a bad deal. Chelsea will be obviously under the microscope because of the crazy deals they've been doing. But Sancho went to Man United for £75 million. Before he went to Man United, he was sought after by a lot of top European clubs. Left Man City, of course, had a few issues there, but he was sort of billed as the next big English product. Sort of in that period between Dele Alli and Jude Bellingham, he was kind of in the
Yep.
middle of that period where he was kind of seen. Once the Dele Alli decline started, Jadon Sancho was the next big golden boy from England.
And then Bellingham came along.
Will feel that they've got a real top player potentially on their hands for a loan season plus a £25 million fee next year. What's your thoughts?
Again, they don't need him, but he has a talented player on his day as well, or they can get him in the right headspace to show that talent. But there's going to be a lot of unhappy players there at Chelsea. Like as we discussed earlier, there's Mudryk, Neto, Palmer, Felix, Sancho, and Kunku. They can all play out wide, and there's only two positions out wide. Like so, it's a balancing act for Maresca, and it's whether it works or not, it's gonna be the big issue for him. But let's just say I wouldn't be I wouldn't be too enthused by it.
Does Sancho get onto Chelsea's best team for you?
The manager doesn't even know what Chelsea's best team is, so I don't have a clue what it is either. But
Well, you'd have to feel that Jackson's going to play, being a
well,
striker.
I would say
Palmer
I
has to
would
play.
say I would say Chelsea's front would be Jackson, Palmer, and probably Sancho at this point.
Jackson, Palmer, and Sancho. And you're
Uh,
leaving out Neto, Madwicki, Mudryk,
Mudryk and
Felix.
Kunku, maybe.
What did you
So
say? Sorry, Palmer.
Palmer, Jackson, and Sancho probably. I would say.
And you've one more on there, I think, because they play with a
Uh,
Casado and
pro-
Fernandez. So you've probably got one
prob-
more on there.
Probably in Kunku, I would say. Because I would say if you're signing Sancho, like they've obviously given guarantees that he's getting playing time.
Well, I've probably promised every player that. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Now, from the Man United angle, they're letting Sancho go at a snap of what they paid, a third of what they paid, £25 million. So they're stand to lose around £50 million on that transfer fee. Now, of course, the balance sheet will show different because this is his third season. So technically, if they've signed him, it's divided. But just
Yeah.
in terms of the actual fee itself, 2 years later he leaves, or 3 years later he leaves Man United for 50 million less than what they paid. How do you feel Man United will be thinking about this? Do you sense that they'll be relieved to move him on, or they'll be disappointed that it's come to this?
Probably a bit of both. Probably like they're obviously going to be disappointed that they put such a big outlay on him and they had such high expectations of him as a lot of people did because when he was sought after at Dortmund, like you had PSG after him, or Madrid were after him, United, Liverpool, like so when United got him, it was seen as a big coup. But for whatever reason, it was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was a manager, wasn't it, when they were signed?
Yeah. How do you feel now? Obviously, go back to Osimhen before we move on to Sterling. I mean, he's in a bit of a pickle now. He's clearly wanted to leave Napoli, wanted a big club. For whatever reason, Chelsea were not able to do a deal. Now, do stress with 48 minutes to go. That's you just never know, but it's looking that way that he will
I,
remain at
I think
Napoli.
it would be a bit late now, like because he would have to go from medical and go.
Yeah, and from what I hear, the Saudi thing's gone because Ivan Toney's going to go there, and we'll speak about that very shortly. But you know, how do you think he'll be feeling? Because Napoli just brought on Lukaku, so the two of them can't play. Conte's got some big decisions to make there, and Osimhen is facing a bit of an uncertain future.
I well, he's sort of made his bed now, doesn't he? He wanted out in Napoli and he didn't get out, so he just has to go back with his tail between his legs. It seems like because Conte obviously wants Lukaku to be his main man. So, and I'm not gonna confess to say I watch a wild lot of Serie A, but I don't think Osimhen can play out wide. So,
No.
Conte prefers a back three, like doesn't he? So you would assume it's going to be Lukaku as the main focal point for them. But in terms of Osimhen, like you would say he's probably stuck out of January at least. But
Just sorry, just an update. I'm hearing that the Sancho fee is £23 million. So there was rumours 20, 25, 23 million will be the deal next year. So you have a loan deal this year and they'll pay 23 million. So United stand to lose 52 million on him. So Chelsea will probably be happy with that because they feel they've got a talented player for such a snap.
it's and for Sancho himself, as we discussed earlier, he's a boyhood Chelsea fan. I think so. For him, it's probably his dream move. But he seems to be a player that sort of problems follow him wherever he goes. So whether Chelsea can sort of nip that in the bud
He's found the
for
right club in, isn't he?
that, I was gonna. So he's going on the environment as we spoke about earlier. Like he's going on the unsettled environment as it is. And what happens if, just for hypothetical, what happens if 6 months time Maresca's out of a job and the new manager doesn't fancy Sancho, and then we're back to the cycle again.
Only thing I would say is I wonder if Maresca's got much control on what's happening there. I know this has been happening under Tuchel, under Pochettino,
Rose.
Potter, now Maresca. So goodness knows what is happening at Chelsea regarding picking players and who stays, who goes. One of the rumours was Pochettino was not happy with Chalobah and Gallagher going, and we'll speak about Chalobah pretty soon because he's on the move as well. Gallagher, of course, joined the Athletic Madrid early in the window. If you are watching, and there is a few watching, so make sure to stick in your comments. We can put them on screen. We can debate the topics of the deadline day, and of course, if you're a Liverpool fan, if you're a Spurs fan, don't worry, we can take questions on their window as well before we come off. So, Owen, you
Yeah, and
spoke about
if you're a Dairy fan, we can be depressed together after that sure crap tonight.
pretty disappointing night for Derry City. I'm sure we'll speak about that as well before we come off. But speaking about players coming into Chelsea, there is one player now that looks very, very close to leaving, and that is Raheem Sterling. As we said earlier on when we were on, the Sterling thing, it kicked off around lunchtime. It looked then when we were coming off at around 7 o'clock that it was dead, but news around 8:30 that this deal was pretty much on and advancing very, very quickly. I'm assuming that Chelsea, there was two things in this, that Nelson was possibly going, and we'll speak about him as well. And Chelsea have possibly maybe softened their demands for him leaving because they were so stuck.
Yeah,
Um,
you
I
just
don't
don't bring
think it
him
was a
there.
great idea. Before we talk about the Arsenal thing, I think that was a bad business move from Chelsea. They basically sidelined Sterling. That there was always this possibility towards the deadline that somebody was going to get a very good deal for him. From what I'm hearing, Chelsea are paying at least half or possibly more of his wages to go to Arsenal. We know real loan fee. Now, I'm sure we'll get more news of that in the next hour. But Arsenal probably feel like they've got. We spoke about it earlier on with Chiesa, like a no risk. I mean, this virtually has no risk. Paying
Yeah.
he could be on. He's on about £300,000 a week at Chelsea. I'm hearing that Arsenal could be getting him for under £125,000 a week with no loan fee. It really is a no risk fee. And you think about Nketiah's going to Palace and Nelson going out the door. It's basically a free transfer for Chelsea or for Arsenal for 1 year.
I would love the I would love to pick Stefan's brains on this. Did they see how he feels about it? The From an Arsenal point, but I think he'll be a good squad option. Like he can cover for he can cover the left, he can cover up, he can cover on the right for Saka as well. So, and I think that's apart from the striker, who I think Arsenal need. I think another weak point of their squad was a backup for Saka because he played a lot of minutes last season, and he's a player that tends to pick up injuries. Now, I know he didn't have a bad season last year with injuries, but we a lot more games this year, and Arsenal are playing in that Club World Cup as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
No, no, sorry, they're not. They're not.
they're not. They're not. Um, So, well, they're going to have more games with the Champions League anyway. So it's a tough season, and you need a good squad. And as much as I think Sterling's on the decline, he's still a for that for no loan fee and getting them on half his wages. It's a very good move for Arsenal.
Yeah, I have to agree. I'm not Sterling's biggest fan. Um, watching them, but it really is no risk for Arsenal.
Yeah.
They didn't get who they wanted. Nico Williams was their target, possibly going back in from next year. He remained at Atletico Bilbao, but for a no risk fee, his cover, he's a proven Premier League footballer, scored over 100 Premier League goals.
He's
I
won
think Arsenal will be
everything.
pretty satisfied. Of course, in the last 40 minutes,
Does
Manchester.
the does the
Go ahead.
Sterling deal have a option to buy or an
No
obligation?
option. No option. No option. No
Oh,
obligation. So Arsenal
interesting.
probably just seeing this as short term. Um, in the last 40 minutes, Manchester United have confirmed the signing of Manuel Ugarte for roughly £50 million.
At least he
Um,
can't play against us.
he can play against Liverpool on Sunday, but he will be available after the international break. He was a long-standing target for Man United. We spoke about this over the last few weeks, but they finally got him on. And if you think about it, they've let McTominay go for 25. So technically speaking, this wasn't a bad deal done by Man United. And for me, he definitely improves them.
No, it is. They were looking for that type of profile. Like they wanted legs in the midfield, and I was actually looking at his stats. Like, and his defensive numbers are very high. He's not very good on the ball. From what I hear, he's not very good on the ball. But from a defensive standpoint, he's a destroyer, so to speak. So that's what they wanted, and they needed legs in the midfield with Casemiro because he's finished. Like, so I think it taking my Liverpool hat off. Like, you have to admit that it's a very good deal for Man United.
Yeah. And of course, this is McTominay moves to Napoli along with Bolly Gilmore. What's your thoughts on United possibly losing McTominay? He was a good source of goals from midfield last year. You know, he was a bit of a game changer when he come on. He wasn't always a starter, but he always felt when he come on, he had that ability to score a goal from midfield. Have United lost that? Can't. Ugarte not going to be that type of player. So yes, they needed a number six, but other than Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount's not really reliable. They don't have a lot of goals from midfield now. We lose McTominay.
No, they don't. But I just think McTominay was ready for a change because it was vilified by the fans, wasn't it? The fans didn't really like him when he was playing or when he was brought on. And to be fair, I'm not his biggest fan either. But he's one of them players that can get you a goal when you're chasing the game. So I think he'll do well in Napoli because I think the football's a lot slower out there, and
Yeah,
I think it'll suit him a lot better out there.
yeah, and Billy Gilmore joins him.
Yeah,
Are
he's
you
Scottish.
surprised that Brighton have let him go, or do you think with Brighton's sort of summer window they felt they had better? Or I mean, because
I
there's a boy that sort of not to steal Micah Richards' line, but burst onto the scene for Chelsea, and it hasn't really happened for him since. He's had games and good games, and he's done well for Scotland. But I suppose Napoli's a great move in terms of the stature of the club. But
Naples is a good city too, by all accounts.
Naples is a good city, but I mean, I thought he was doing quite well at Brighton, but they've obviously
I
felt they've got enough there.
He played there on Saturday, didn't he, against United? And he looked well, but they must be thinking when everyone's fit that he's not in their plans. So, and he must have wanted to move. But for him, it's for Billy Gilmore, like it's a very good move for him, isn't it?
Very interesting to see how Napoli line up. Obviously, they aren't in Europe this year, but
Well,
Conte's definitely reshaped a wee bit of the team.
they have they have Zambo and Gisa as well. Another boy used to play for Fulham.
Ball, yeah.
Mm.
Um, so the domino effect just keeps continuing, as we says. The Sterling won the Arsenal. This may have opened up with Chelsea softening their approach, but also Reece Nelson is heading for a medical at Ipswich.
Is this a
Um,
permanent move or a loan?
Loan, from what I hear, another loan deal. A lot of loan deals happening. And we'll speak about that soon. But Nelson, he wasn't going to get much game time at Arsenal. And I would suspect that Ipswich believe they've got a great deal because there was a number of teams interested in Nelson.
He's one of these players that seems to love out of a suitcase. And what I mean by that is he's always at a he's always he's always at a different loan. Like was he at Crystal Palace at one point? He was
Not
somewhere.
sure. Well,
He's
I'll be straight
been
back, sir. Okay, I need to get the thought. I'll be straight back.
I don't know more.
Keep you working. Keep you talking if you want.
Oh well, no, but in terms of Nelson, like I think it's a very good move for Ipswich, and he'll get a lot of game time there. And I think for Arsenal, like as Gareth said there, he wasn't going to get a lot of game time. So I think Ipswich have got themselves a Premier League proven player by their accounts. So it'll be interesting to see how Ipswich line up because I know they've signed Ogbene from Luton and they've signed Jack Clark. So a lot of wingers coming in at Luton. But if anyone's watching and wants to leave a comment, I'm sure Gareth will put them up when he comes back. But it's been a it's been a very strange it's been a very strange summer window in terms of there's not been any really like big big moves. Well, it has to do with PSR and teams being careful. But as we spoke about earlier, I think Newcastle's had a very poor window, and it doesn't look like they're going to bring in Alanga. So no,
What's up, sir?
I was just chatting there about. I was on about Nelson, and I said it's been a very strange window in terms of there's no been real. There's not been any like massive deals happening. Well, it has to do with the PSR that teams are afraid of now.
Well, I
And then,
think you come on it because I think PSR is playing a huge part. I think that's why we're seeing so many loan deals and clubs
yeah,
that are trying to put off paying the next year, and that gets there's a 3 year cycle, isn't there? So
yeah.
it builds on, and seeing so many loan deals today.
I was
That
just saying, like, I was just saying there too, like, in terms of Newcastle, like, they're the richest club in the world, and they can't spend a penny. Like,
what's up? And we'll come on to Newcastle because it's been a terrible window for Newcastle. I think their fans, they're not your James Pierces for Liverpool. They're sort of senior reporters across Fulham
yeah,
around have all said that Eddie Howe has been frustrated with the window. Yes, they've kept hold of their star players, but they haven't added. Other than Lloyd Kelly, I believe. I think that's it. They've lost Elliot Anderson and Minta.
um,
They do the loan deals, but
I think they might have signed someone else, but I can't remember.
yeah, but their starting 11, for example, hasn't really improved.
No,
Um,
and I honestly think next year if Newcastle don't get into Europe, I think they will lose Anthony Gordon, Isaac, and maybe Bruno Guimaraes.
that's the right, and that's the danger, isn't it? They may have to cash in to try and improve a wee bit like
Yeah,
Liverpool did with Coutinho. Of course, the
continue.
rules have changed so much now. I mean, does it shock you that so many clubs are in the loan deals? Does it make you think that you think about Man City only signed Silvino really, and they've sold a wee bit. I know Gundogan's come on the free transfer, but in terms of outlay,
Yeah,
Arsenal haven't spent a lot. If you look at what they've sold, I think they're actually plus in terms of they've made money in this window. Liverpool the same.
Liverpool made profit.
Spurs have signed 3 or 4, but they've let a lot go to do that.
Do you think it'll be a different window next year?
I don't know. I don't think so because I think
Nah.
as this is getting on the question of you, that do you think that a lot of clubs are tighter with PSR than what you think? Because Liverpool have spent 10 million in this window. If you think about Mohamed Arsfali's money, is probably delayed to next year, or fair enough if they paid it this year and it comes next year. What a 40 million outlay, and they've sold a
Yeah.
lot. Spurs have yes, they spent somewhere in the region of 130 million, but they've recouped over half of that back. Arsenal's, which is their plus money. Man City have only spent that 30 million on Silvino.
Well,
Uh,
Man City are probably afraid to spend much because they have a lot going on
New,
already.
Newcastle had to sell to buy. Villa have done a wee bit, but a lot of the top clubs they haven't went big in this window, and the evidence points to a lot of clubs are feared of breaching these PSR rules, and they're being extra careful with what they do.
It is, but I was reading today. Liverpool and Spurs are nowhere near it, so we nowhere near breaching it. So I think they could be a bit more like
Maybe not breaching it, but one bad window, and you could
yeah,
be in danger because if you go and spend 200 million or 300 million on a window and don't really sell, you're under pressure for next. You can only lose 105 million over the 3 years.
Look
That's
at
what,
Brighton. Brighton have went and spent 200 million. I know they've made a lot. To be
but
fair,
they've made a lot in the last few windows.
yeah. So
Um,
it's gonna be interesting where this is a dominant. This is what summer transfers are gonna be like now from now on.
but surely there's no coincidence that Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man City haven't spent that much all in the one window.
Yeah, but haven't they changed the
And they were
rules
the
for
three
next
teams that
year,
finished
or
in
did
the
I make
top
that
three
up?
last year. Sorry.
Didn't they haven't they changed the rules from for next year, or is it the year after? I know they've.
Possible. The rules are always changing, but there is a
It's a pity,
common.
it's a pity that these weren't the rules from day dot because I think the league would have been a lot more competitive at the top.
Yeah, I get that, but there's a lot of Liverpool fans like yourself that are bashing the club for not spending. Maybe they feel they can't.
No, no, no. Like as I said, I believe we. I don't want us to go out and spend 200, 300 million, but I do believe that we could have brought on three players this window because we're short. We're short of six and we're short of centre back.
Yeah. Well, one thing I would say is last year Liverpool had a huge outlay on
Yep.
fielders, and they didn't really bring much money on last year. So
No,
again, maybe they're being
well,
careful this year.
so maybe just to play devil's advocate, maybe we're bringing in the money this year, and then next year we'll see a difference. But it's um it's going to be difficult for clubs because, as you say, one wrong move and you're in trouble. Look at Everton last year and look at Forest. I think, are Everton still under investigation, and Forest are, and Leicester are. So those clubs have to really be careful because one wrong move and these clubs could be finished.
Yep. Just to go back to the transfer news that's happening, Ivan Toney is very close to happening. What we hear, Brentford believe the deal is done, so Ivan Toney will be getting his move to
Do you think?
uh, Saudi
Do you
Arabia.
think?
The Al Hilal.
Do you, obviously Tony's making a lot of money here, but do you think he'll be disappointed in a way?
I would say so. Yes, he's going to be well paid, but I'm sure he probably doesn't envisage himself in June playing his football in September in Saudi Arabia.
No,
So
as you said earlier, he strikes me as a boy who loves the headlines, and I would have thought like he would have dreamt of playing in the Champions League, like. But here we are, money talks.
Um, money does talk, 100%. It will be interesting to see what happens with Ivan Toney because it looks like it's going to happen. But
Do you think do you think there's a clause in there if a club comes in for him, he can go?
the problem being is we see me Henderson, you have to stay for so long. They make this big money,
Yeah,
so staying for 1 year probably doesn't benefit Tony. So
yeah.
um,
Henderson doesn't even last a year. He only lasted 6 months.
no, so I would imagine Tony knows what he's getting himself onto. So no,
Yeah.
I'd advise he'll stay in and at
Maybe
least
maybe it's just me, but I don't care what amount of money you'd offer me. I would not go out there.
no. Well, Tony's a wee bit stuck, wasn't he? It was either Brentford or going to
If
Saudi.
I
I
was
suppose
if I
he
was
could have
him, I
waited.
would have
He
just
could have waited another year and left on a free. But there is a common theme in this window. The player, I think it was up to 3 years ago. The average age of a signing from a Premier League team was 25. It's down to 23 now. So it does
well
seem the clubs are targeting younger players. And Tony will be what age next year? 29, will he?
29, 30. Well, I seen just as you were speaking of Ugarte, I seen Melissa already put up on X that United won't sign players that are over 26 in this new regime.
Well, there you go.
So that's an interesting one. But then you see it with Liverpool too, like what Mohamed's Foley's what 22, 23, cases 26. So teams are going younger, it seems.
Yeah.
And
There has been very little update in Eddie and Nketiah's move to Crystal Palace, but we are hearing that is no hitches there. That should go through. So Arsenal moving
do you think
him out.
that's a good move for him?
I think it's a great move I won from. I don't think he's at the level of an Arsenal, but
Yep.
I do think that's a good move for him. A
And
good move for
Edward
B as well.
Edward's going to Leicester, isn't he, as well?
Yeah. So again, the domino effect we spoke about there at the top of the show.
Yeah, I
Edward
think
goes
he'll
to
do well.
Leicester.
I think he'll do well at Leicester.
Yeah, I think Leicester are a wee bit short in that area, so
They
he'll
only
definitely
really
be.
have they only really have Vardy, don't they? And I
See?
but he's more of a winger.
Oh, I use come on, yeah, I use come on. They've got a few winners. They've Mavadidi and they've got Fatawa,
Fatawu. Uh,
Fatawa. So Leicester have had a quiet enough window, haven't they?
because
But
that's another
that's
team.
kind of
'Cause they're gonna get a points deduction. So
well, that's that. Leicester could be really up against it, couldn't they? Because if they are up by points and they haven't started the season particularly well, based on their performances, um, it'd be interesting to see. Of course, we spoke about it earlier. Lo Celso was going to return to Real Betis. So no news on Region. So from what I'm gathering, he will still be a Spurs player come 11 o'clock. And I would expect him to be released. And Spurs will shift that final bit of deadwood that they sought out. I mean, they do so well. So I mean, let's go through some of the teams in the window, Owen.
yeah,
And well, let's go through all the teams and tell me what you think. Sort of, good window, bad window. It's kind of the same, or you can
yeah.
kind of grade them A, B, C, and D maybe.
Yeah.
So we'll go on the presumption that some of these deals we're talking about that are happening are going to get done.
So like
So
Kenny Sterling.
Arsenal. How do you feel
Um,
their window went?
I would say B.
I would say a C.
Mm, maybe I'll go. I'll go C plus. I'll go C plus.
C plus because yes, they got the left back Calafiore.
But they didn't
Uh,
get a striker.
they didn't get a striker. Sterling's come on as a bit of a short term option. They didn't get Williams. So yes, they've moved on players like Smith Rowe, Ramsdale, and Keria. Got good money, and I suppose they're on the balance sheets come out well.
Stefan will
But
be
are they
saying,
any strong? Marino's come on as well, to be fair. But are they any stronger than they were last year? You mean
well,
it's up for a bit?
they haven't got any worse.
Yeah, I would
So
say that. I haven't got any worse. Um,
I'll
Aston
say,
Villa.
hmm, interesting one, Villa. I'll go with B with Villa. I do like some of their business.
I think Douglas Luiz was the big one, losing him. I think he'd be
Uh,
a big loss. But of course, they brought on Matson. Um, he's sort of seen a
Onana, he
second.
sort of proved me wrong at the start here.
Nana's had a good start. Um, but I still think Villa could have been doing our striker. I know Duran's there, but I
Yeah.
think if Watkins goes off the boil or has an injury,
Who
I'm
else have
not
they
sure
signed?
relying on Duran as the answer for them.
They signed Ross Barkley as well.
Yeah, they got him for a hundred, didn't
No, I think they paid like 4 million or something for him.
they? Next day, nothing.
Yeah.
Bournemouth have had a busy window, players coming in and out. Obviously the big one, Solanke was going, but they did bring in Evan Nielsen.
I'll
Um,
go.
but I think
Just
Bournemouth are probably in the C category.
I was gonna say C because I don't know much about much of their
All
signings.
right,
To
well,
be fair,
yeah, you give so it's C plus for Arsenal, B for Villa, and a
Mm,
C for
for
Bournemouth. Yeah,
Bournemouth. Aye.
yeah, Bournemouth are one of them teams. They do kind of bring in a lot of unknowns. Now Brighton are a team that have been
Yeah.
very busy, and
I
they
would have
haven't
to.
lost a star player in this window, and they've brought on quite a few players that people have sort of took notice of. So
Yep.
I think Brighton fall into the A category.
I would have to say A plus for Brighton.
You think they've had the best window?
Aye. I thought it was West Ham at the start, but I do like Brighton's business.
Um, Chelsea. Where do we start with them?
Uh, um, I don't even know how to grade Chelsea, to be honest, because it's mad. I'll go in the middle. I'll go C, just because they didn't get the striker. Well, that we know of.
Mm. I mean, we'd be here all night rhyming off who they've sold and who they've let go and who
I
they've done. So, obviously the notable ones coming in, Sancho, which will be
think
confirmed next year.
I think losing Gallagher could be big for them in the long
Yeah,
term.
losing Gallagher, Chalobah's away on loan. Thiago
He's away to
Silva was
Chalobah's
released.
away to Palace, isn't he?
Chalobah's going to Palace, from
So
what we hear.
Palace now have Gehi Lacroix, that centre back from Wolfsburg, and uh Chalobah. That's a decent back three.
Yeah. Wolves have signed Andre, a long-term target that was with Liverpool. That's just been confirmed in the last few minutes. Um,
he'll be going for 80 million next 2 years.
yeah, Crystal Palace, you mentioned them there. They've done quite a bit of business in terms of Elise going, but they've kept hold of Eze, kept hold of Gahey, and
That's
brought in
what
a few
sort of
players in the final day as well.
I'll go B for Palace because they've kept Gahey and Eze, and they've brought in some decent players. I really like the signing of Chalba for them. I think he's a
I think
very good sign.
Dalva could have been, went somewhere more prolific. To be honest, I think that was a great deal.
That's what I mean. I
Uh,
think he's a very good player. What would you give them?
yeah, I'm just hearing that there may be a lit twist in the Nelson deal. Fulham
Oof.
are pushing extremely hard to get him.
Ooh.
So
So
this,
would this stop the Sterling deal then?
well, no, well, I think Nelson's on for going is going anyway. But Fulham could trump Ipswich. Ipswich still seen as favourites, but Fulham are trying very hard to try and
I
convince
thought you
them.
were going to say. I thought you were going to say in the Osimhen deal. I was like, no, not again.
No. So that's just breaking in the last couple of minutes.
What would you
Moving
give
on.
Palace?
I'd have to give it a C because I'm not sure on some of again. I'm not sure on some of the signings. Um,
I really like Kamada. I watched him a wee bit in Syria. I think he's good.
Kamara, I got him on a free, didn't they? Moving
Yep.
on. Everton,
I have to say D. I don't.
disastrous window. I think I know they bought in a
Uh,
couple on loan, but
I don't
I
like
think
their one. I don't like their
I
one
think they're
goal.
weaker than they were last year.
I know I said Wolves are going down, but I wouldn't be surprised if Everton are down there too.
Yeah,
The bottom, the
potentially.
bottom of the bottom of the league this season is extremely poor.
Yeah, sorry, a team we missed as well. I know we're kind of going off alphabetical order. Brentford. Um, Tony's gone. But they did manage to keep hold of Vussa and Mbuemo. Um,
They brought in
again, a lot of their
Carvalho.
Carvalho and Van der Berg. But again, are Brentford any stronger than they were last year? You probably couldn't go above a C.
No, I'm gonna go C for Brentford because the
I think it
striker
would
they
have been
got.
a D. I think it would have been a D. Only Tony was missing for so long last year, and he coped. But
Uh,
because
the
they
and
showed
the
they could cope, you probably give them a C.
and the striker that they brought in is out for the whole season.
Yeah. Upswitch again. A lot of players come on from the lower league.
I'll
You probably
go.
just have to say a C because
I'll go in the middle C because I don't know much about their players to be honest.
yeah, and they're probably at a level where they can't convince too many to come.
Yep.
Um, Leicester.
F. They're they're one of those just. It's been shocking.
Fulham.
C.
Smith Rowe was a good signing, wasn't
I know, but they lost Polina and
he?
didn't
Yeah.
replace him. And didn't replace him.
Um,
Has he signed anyone else?
Leicester. A
No,
lot of
Fulham.
them. Fulham. They did sign a couple, but again, they're unknowns, were they? Um, Man United.
Uh, I'll mm, I'll go a B.
I give them a B as well because I think Ugarte's going to be a good player for
Yeah,
them. Liverpool.
D.
Yeah, didn't do enough, did they? They missed out in that number 6 position. Chiesa as a squad is a bit like a Sterling. It's a stopgap.
Yeah.
And he was clearly wasn't a top target for them. It was an
Well, well,
opportunistic deal, wasn't it?
apparently we've been tracking him for years, but
It had to be an opportunity. It was only done yesterday,
yeah,
so an opportunity. You have
yeah.
to feel it was an, and he was offered. He was offered around most of Europe, so
Hmm.
you'd have to say that was an opportunistic deal. They've not improved that starting 11. That's what you would say.
No, but I would say either we haven't got any worse.
Yeah. So
So I'll just go
that's a
D.
D because they've lost ground. Um, Man City.
You know what? I'm gonna go a C because they sold Alvarez and didn't replace him.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Newcastle.
I'll say F as well. I think they've had a very bad one though. Probably the worst.
I give them an E for effort because they've tried.
Well,
uh,
again they've kept their main players for now, so maybe that bumps them up a bit, but I don't know.
yeah. Southampton.
again, they're sort of like Fulham. They've brought in a lot of players that I don't know. I know they've brought on Ramsdale and they've brought on a few. They've brought on Lallana, who I don't think's played yet, has he?
No.
Um, I'll go in the middle. I'll just go C because I don't know much about their business.
Spurs.
I'll give Spurs a B because they shifted a lot of deadwood and I do like some of their signings. What about you?
I would say you're right there, maybe.
Yeah,
Um, West Ham
B as well.
and the Wolves.
D.
So Brighton, the biggest winners.
For me,
Newcastle and Everton, the
Leicester as
biggest losers.
well. I think over if I was to give the window a written overall, I think it's been a very poor window overall.
I've just got some breaking news here. From Fabrizio Romano. Osimhen has no future at Napoli. If nothing happens in the next 3 days with teams in Saudi Arabia, he will not be part of the squad at Napoli. So
So
it could
yeah, we
potentially be a devastating window for Osimhen. And I suppose that begs the question: if that is the case, I wonder why the Chelsea move didn't happen. Because if they're so desperate to shift them,
because I think Chelsea wanted
confirmation
him.
that Osimhen will not be moving to Chelsea as well.
So that's done. No, I think he wanted his full wage, and Chelsea weren't going to give him the wage that he's on. I think that's what it was.
So it's down to the player, possibly.
Yeah. So
Well,
if he doesn't go to Saudi, do you think Chelsea revisit it in January?
he won't kick a ball, but that's the problem. If Napoli or if we're reading what we're believing here, or believing what we're reading, um,
I love how deadline days went from watching Jim White and his blue and his tie to reading what Fabrizio Romano was to
yeah.
say.
Talk Sports saying that Southampton's move for Maxwell Corney is going to go very close to the deadline.
Oh,
But there is a confidence that will happen.
Mac-
Spurs are very close to agreeing a deal for Betis, or for Lo Celso to go back to Betis. And of course, that strange deal where Cardoza will be available for Spurs for a period of 12 months here until the end of next year for 30 million euros. I've
that's
seen it
all
all
good.
today. I've never heard of anything like that in the Premier League where
Have you
Spurs negotiated a price for a player they haven't even bought yet.
have you looked them up since?
No. Um, Breaking news in the last 30 seconds, and I would imagine it's going to be confirmed very, very soon. Eddie and Kerry has moved to Palace, is done. 25 million plus 5 million in add-ons. Yeah,
Stefan
and
was right there, and they got
Palace have
the.
just confirmed it. Breaking news yet. Palace, Eddie and Kerry is a Palace player. Eddie the Eagle, they're calling it.
Oh,
And we spoke about that earlier. Um, he needed that move, didn't he? Because
no.
it had gone stale from at Arsenal.
I wasn't like they needed a striker and they weren't turning to him, so I think it's a good move for everyone involved.
We said earlier about Anthony Alanga being the big story of deadline day. He says about a Peter Odemwingie. From what I'm seeing, I spoke about it about 10 minutes ago. Fulham have now hijacked Ipswich's move for Reece Nelson, and there's now looking likely that Fulham is going to be where he goes. Fulham have come in at the 11th hour. He was having a medical at Ipswich, believe it or not. And it now looks like Reece Nelson is going to be going to Fulham. So I'm expecting that this deal is probably one that's going to go into the deal sheet. Of course,
Yeah.
that if two clubs and the player sign a document between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, they are given an extra 2 hours to complete the deal. So Reece Nelson,
Will he have to do an hour medical at Fulham, or can
I would
they?
imagine, I would imagine so. But from what I'm hearing now, Fulham have hijacked that move, and Ipswich's move for Nelson has fallen apart.
That's not good for Ipswich, is it? If they were looking for a winger,
Well, I think if you think about the players Ipswich have brought on too, um,
Benny
you
from
know,
Luton they've brought in.
but you think about Nelson was probably of pedigree in terms of coming from Arsenal.
Yeah,
He Premier League experience, um,
is it?
and for them they lose that out now. They probably thought they had him, Fulham have now hijacked that deal.
Is it a here we go thing?
Well, Alex Crook is reporting that Fulham have hijacked it, and I did see from somebody else in the last about 10 or 15 minutes before, and I said, "Do you?" Fulham had come in at the live and fire. Um, that that has now happened. So as it says, deadline day can throw up all kinds of stories. Um, just more news on Victor Osimhen. Um, their Chelsea feel that a deal became impossible. Um, and Osimhen wasn't sort of willing to compromise on wages.
Yep, that's
And
what I.
again, we heard from the Italian side, now we're hearing from the English side that there is a feeling from Osimhen's camp now that he is going to be stranded at Napoli, unless a Saudi Arabia team comes in before Monday. As of course, the
Oh,
Saudi Arabian deadline doesn't not close on Monday,
big
but
news! Big news
right.
coming out of France. Wilfred Zaha has just joined Leon on loan from Galatasaray.
There you go. Plenty of deals still happening at this
Mhm.
11th hour. There is a lot of other deals that's being confirmed at the moment. I think Forest have signed a player, um, but it's impossible to keep track of it. This is one of the busiest deadline days we've had for such a long time, and that's actually why we come on tonight because so much is happening. Now, just seeing that Raheem Sterling is now arrived at Arsenal's training ground. Then pictures coming on the Sky Sports now as well. Mason Holgate has joined West Bromwich Albion, and get this, there may be a record fee in League One. Birmingham closely signing Jay
10,
Stanfield from Fulham for
10
£10
million.
million, which would smash the League One record fee, which was Sunderland's signing of Will Grigg back in 2019, which was well documented on Sunderland Till I Die, and we all know how that went.
Yep.
So much happening out there, one. It seems to be that we may, even 11 o'clock will come and go, but there's going to be a lot of deals completed after it.
It seems to be all kicking off at the minute. Uh it's here's a quick. Do you think? I know it's hard to judge, but do you think January will be busy?
No, I think most summers now, Januaries are very quiet. I think a lot of loans maybe, but times and
Yeah.
money being spent. No, David Ornstein's just confirmed that Sterling has arrived at Arsenal's training ground to undergo medical ahead of proposed move to Arsenal. It will be a season-long loan only, and I would imagine there's going to be a deal sheet put on because we've
It'll
got
have to
10
be
months.
because it's like 5 to 11.
Yeah, 10 minutes to go until that deadline. Um, and so many deals are underway or still being negotiated. Um, I
Do you
mean,
think the Reece Nelson one will get done?
well, again, deal sheets going on. I mean, Ipswich is a couple of hours, I think, away from Fulham. So how he's getting there, of course, I do not know. But from what I'm hearing, there's confidence on both sides. Fulham and Arsenal will get this deal done, and
Do you think
Ipswich are
that's a
now
good?
out of the race.
Do you think that's a good move for Fulham?
Um, Nelson, he's got potential, definitely. I was
Mm.
surprised that he was going to Ipswich when I heard about it was going to Ipswich about an hour ago. I thought there might have been somebody else at the table, and Fulham have come in. So,
And I suppose he has a friend there too in Smith Rowe. So
yeah, that may have played a part in maybe the whole thing coming about. But so much still happening.
I'm just looking at the
Hearing,
phone.
well, this may be one of the reasons that Erin or Reece Nelson could be going to Arsenal. I'm hearing that Ernest Numami's move from Lyon to Fulham has collapsed. So maybe something went wrong there, and they needed another player, and maybe that's why they've gone for him.
It's all going off at the minute.
All going off. Let's take a break from the madness that's kind of happening here as we go. Sorry, just before we do, here in the deal sheet has been prepared and will be submitted. So Chelsea and Arsenal will have an extra 2 hours to get that deal done for Raheem Sterling.
So how long would it take to do a medical? Like an hour?
I think sometimes they take longer, like, but I think at this stage it's just about getting it done. So
Mhm.
they might have to rush through it. Must
Bad
certain
as
things
that.
an
Bad as
opportunity.
that. Be a disaster if he fails his medical, wouldn't
Yeah.
it?
I want to come back to Liverpool because, of course, they are not involved in this kind of frantic ending to the deadline. But they held their cards close to their chest for a very long time. Zubimendi was a player they went for, and for about a day or two, it looked like it could happen, and then it became quite evident that that wasn't happening. They didn't go back in for a number six after that, and they didn't really make no secret that he was the only target they wanted. They were prepared to wait. Chiesa then became a target and was signed yesterday, but other than that, it's been a very quiet window at Anfield. So, I mean, do you think when the dust settles, they'll look back and think we should have been more prepared, we should have done this, we should have done that? They come out of a window. We only a sort of an opportunistic signing and a future signing. It isn't something you associate with a top club.
No, but it's something I associate with having owners that don't care. And at the end of the day, they just want to line their pockets, and that's what they've done. They've made their money, and as I've said, they've done some great things for Liverpool. But for me, and I'm not speaking for all Liverpool fans because I know FSG have their fans, and I know it's to do with Hughes and Edwards as well. But I just think they could do a lot more than they're doing in the transfer market, and that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, hearing that a deal sheet has also been submitted for Trevor Chalobah's deal, for the Cody Palace on loan. I think there's going to be a lot of deal sheets going on because
Yeah,
I think a lot of them deals that have came about late are obviously
couple.
very early on, and it is a bit of a rush. Your likes of your Chalobahs, your Sterlings, your Reece Nelsons,
Sancho's
uh,
done, is it?
Sancho. No, I think as well could possibly need a deal sheet. But we'll see more soon. But a lot of teams going late into the night.
Aye.
So we could be on here for a bit longer. But Forest have confirmed the signing of Morado from Benfica again.
Brazil, he's a Brazilian centre back guy.
So Forest are an our team that tend to do business quite late on deadline day. But getting back to Liverpool, um, obviously you'll hear different things. Slot will say happy with the business.
No, we'll hear.
We're
No,
waiting,
we'll
but
hear. No, we'll hear now. We'll hear our journalists going. Oh, next summer we're going to have a war chest. They spend millions, and then we'll be here in 12 months' time, and it'll be the same cycle.
But you got to think that surely this wasn't the plan for the summer. That they were not just going to sign a goalkeeper. And realistically, the Chiesa deal came about at the last minute, so you can't plan for stuff like that. But it's hard to believe when they sat down, they planned their summer window, they were going to sign a goalkeeper only.
Well, the whole talk was, well, we wanted Anthony Gordon, didn't we? And obviously that didn't happen. But the whole talk was we wanted a winger, we wanted a centre back, and we wanted a uh, number six. We've only got one of them. So that's not the winger we wanted. No one can tell me that Chiesa was always the plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so
So
let's go. Let's say that Gordon and Zubamendi were the two top targets, and they failed to land either of them. It seems to be at Liverpool at the moment. There's a very specific. I mean, once they identify a player, it's either that player or no player. There's no real sort of short list of a certain type of player. It has to be that player. So, as that a smart approach in your opinion, or as it does it leave a lot to be desired? Because there's always a chance that a deal might not be possible for that certain player.
I seen it before. As I mentioned earlier, we went for Tchouaméni. He went to Real Madrid. We didn't go for no one else. We went for Bellingham. He went to Real Madrid. Didn't go for nobody else. So, and it's not a good strategy because there's a lot of good number sixes out there. There mightn't be the one that we want, but Ederson from Atalanta, take him. I think I know he's not the right age, but Polina from Fulham, I would have took him no bother. It's like honestly, like we're next summer will be our fourth summer looking for a
Number
proper
six.
number proper number six, and
Just
we
some breaking news on Celtic. Celtic have announced they've completed the signing of Arnie Engels. It's a club record fee from he's come from Osberg for 11 million. They've also announced the signing of Austin Trusty, the former Arsenal player,
from
um,
Sheffield United.
from Sheffield United. So again, around 6 million spent, so 17 million on those two players. Um, but I do get your frustration. I'm in a group chat here that's going off here in the last sort of hour or so that
Is it our one or is it a different
a
one?
different one. Liverpool fans keep getting told that next year it'll be different, and it's hard to believe that you can back that because
I don't.
you've had the disappointment of Bellingham, the disappointment of Casado, the disappointment of
Lavia. Well,
Zubimendi. That's becoming a bit of a never. Sorry,
it's like
sorry, saying there. It's a bit of an never-ending cycle.
I honestly I don't know what we're going to do next summer because we need a number six and we spoke about it earlier. We Salah could be away. Just hypothetically, all three of them could be away next summer.
Mm.
What do we do then? Like because we need a centre back anyway, and it clearly doesn't want Endo. Like he hasn't played him in any of the games. He brought him on against Brentford with 2 minutes to go, so that doesn't really count as minutes. So I don't know. You as a neutral, obviously, obviously for me as a Liverpool fan, it's frustrating. But I don't know how you feel as a neutral the whole Liverpool situation.
Um, I think they've had a disappointing window. Oh, and I can tell you that the window is about to close here, about 5 seconds to go. And a lot of deals haven't been done. And I can tell you that is now the transfer window officially over. It's just striked 11 o'clock. The
I
transfer
can't wait
window
for the I can't wait for the tweets now. All Liverpool next summer will be at the front of the queue.
the transfer window across Europe has officially closed.
Here's another
Um,
one going to like we were told if Real Madrid didn't sign Lenny Euro, we'd be at the front of the queue.
Yep, Euro was another one. Fulham have submitted a deal sheet as they look to sign Reece Nelson from under Ipswich's noses. Their move for Ernest Numaya, which was almost there, had a block, and Nelson is now the priority. So it just shows you that uh,
Well, you could just
Ipswich,
you could just
Ipswich
picture
have
like
been trumped. Ipswich have been trumped because Fulham have run into problems. I'm hearing that Real Betis have agreed that deal with Spurs. That is done. I'm not officially confirmed, but there is that will happen. The Celso will leave Spurs. I'm not sure how it works in terms of deal sheets across Europe, but that
yeah,
deal will be done from what I'm hearing.
you could just
Um,
picture Reece Nelson doing a medical at Ipswich and getting a phone call full of Monty, right? See, sitter.
well, that looks to be what happened because from what I hear, his medical was already started at Ipswich before it came on. Um, and I'm hearing more breaking news here, which is absolutely incredible. We spoke about it earlier on, not much depth, but we spoke about Birmingham's pursuit of J.A. Stansfield, that it would
Yeah,
be £10 million, and it would be a League One record fee, of course, trumping the Wall Greg fee that Sunderland paid 3.5 million for him from Wigan in 2019, which was well documented on the Sunderland
Netflix.
until I die, and it led to the owner says he would never do an hour deadline day, and he says he hadn't enough money to pay the pizza delivery guy. Well, I'm hearing that it's not going to be £10 million. I'm hearing that it's £12 million that's been agreed. So Birmingham of League One are paying £12 million for a Fulham player. Um, it'll be in excess of £12 million. It is 4 times the League One record fee. So
Who owns Birmingham? I think it's Tom
Tom
Brady,
Brady.
isn't it?
Tom
Uh,
Brady has put his hand in his pocket tonight, and they have went above and beyond to bring back Jay Stansfield, who was on loan there last year at Birmingham.
he's a goalkeeper, isn't he?
Striker.
Striker. I thought he
Uh,
was.
just in the last minute, Spurs have confirmed that they have reached an agreement with Real Betis for the transfer of Giovanni Lo Celso. So Spurs' 2019 window, which famously seen Pochettino sacked after, where they brought on Tongi and Ndombele, Giovanni Lo
Mhm.
Celso, Ryan Sessegnon, and Jack Clark.
That's
All
all been
four
done.
now are no longer at the club.
Jack Clark actually he's not a twitch, isn't he?
Well, I'll tell you an even crazier one. Tanguy Ndombele was bought for 55 million and released on a free.
Nah, that's
Ryan
mad.
Sessegnon was bought for 25 million, released on a free. Jack Clark went to
Mhm.
Sunderland for £1 million. Now he Spurs did make quite a bit back there because
Yeah.
he went to Ipswich. Spurs made about £10 million back on a future sell on.
It's
And
mad,
Giovanni Lo
isn't it?
Celso we're hearing's moved for about £5 million. Spurs have made roughly £15 million out of
From
that sort of 100
100
odd they spent.
million.
So that was a really, really bad window for Spurs. Um,
Isn't Pochettino the America manager now?
he sure is. He's away
That's
to he's away to America. Understand the fee. Sorry, 5 million. I was getting carried out. It's 8.4, about £8.5 million, €10 million plus add-ons and a
for,
sell-on clause. So that fee is slightly higher than what was being reported earlier. Alistair Gold has just said that the fee is €10 million. So
for the
Spurs
Celso.
have got more dead wood out the door for a half decent fee. Um, and I think, Owen, this come to Spurs, I think they'll be pretty satisfied with the window they've had. Yes, they would have liked
Yep.
to do more, but a lot of dead wood shifted. If we go through it now in our heads, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg went for 17 million.
Yeah.
Joe Roden went for 10 million. That's 27. Um,
The
Emerson
Celso.
Real went for 13 million. There's 40 million.
The
Giovanni
Celso.
Lo Celso went for 40 or 8.5. There's 48.5. Troy Parrott left for 7.5. That's
That's
55 million.
51. Yeah.
So a lot of players that Spurs, Oliver Skip went for 20 million,
That's like
75 million.
70 million.
So Spurs have shifted a lot of players that were not seen as part of the future. I mean, if they pulled in 75 million for players that weren't really useful or weren't playing that much, other than really Højbjerg, come on as the odd sub. Spurs were pretty happy. I mean, that's the Solanke fee covered plus the Odegaard fee. Really, they've only had that expenditure on Archie Gray.
Aye, so it's been a very good window for Spurs in terms of, you would say, ingoings and incomings and outgoings. Obviously, I think Ange would have wanted one more in today, but obviously for whatever reason it didn't materialize. But I think Spurs are in a strong position now. They as Ange said, like he believes Spurs are an hour year away. So we'll see what they do next in the next 18 months or so.
Yeah, just more news on Reece Nelson. David Ornstein reporting that he said yes to Ipswich, and then Fulham come on, and he told them no. So crazy. You think you've got all summer to do a deal, and it comes down to the final knock-ins. Nottingham Forest, yeah, have confirmed, as it says earlier, Murata from Benfica and Ward-Prowse from West Ham. So they've had a double deal for those two. It's been a buzzy deadline day one for a lot
Fulham
of
are
clubs.
actually, isn't it? Fulham are actually playing at Twitch tomorrow too.
Yeah, so I know we'll be some crack of Fulham's parading Nelson around the pitch. Big breaking news coming
Oh,
in from Saudi Arabia. Ivan
oh,
Toney has signed for Al Ali for £40 million. It's done deal.
that's per.
So that Tony deal is done. That would seem that it's a less option for Victor Osimhen. Obviously, they will not be able to sign him. Maybe another Saudi Arabian team comes in. But
So
Osimhen, I don't ever get the feeling Osimhen wanted to go to Saudi Arabia. I really don't.
no,
So
no. His
it's not
agent
even,
came out and said he has more to do in Europe.
yeah. So, what happens with Victor Osimhen in the last few days is going to be very interesting because, of course, Saudi Arabia is still an option. But
So who
you
plays
know,
for Al Ali? Is there any players that we know of that plays there? Apart from Tony, obviously.
sorry,
Is there any players that play for Al Ali apart from Tony that we know of that he's going to be linking up with?
I'm not too sure on them. More
Oh,
news.
Firmino. I think Firmino and Mahrez play for them.
Right. Hudson Edward has completed a loan deal. He's going to Leicester from Crystal
Yeah.
Palace. So no coincidence. As soon as Nketiah is announced, he goes there on loan. West Ham are still confident of completing a loan deal for Carlos Soler from PSG. Deal
Yeah.
sheet being used. Michael Marino, who signed for Arsenal yesterday, is out for up to 2 months with a fractured shoulder. So that's a
Oh
bit of a
dear.
blow. That's a bit of a blow for Arsenal. He got injured in his first training session.
Gabriel injured him, so it was.
Yeah. Real Sociedad have completed the signing of NaifEgyard from West Ham on loan.
I don't.
So,
I
so
hope.
many
I hope
deals
he gets.
coming in here now.
I hope he gets relegated at Sociedad. Hit them.
Yeah. Now, I know there's still a few deals to be done. Um, the Rangers have just signed Nadim Barjami from Sassuolo for 3.5 million. But so many deals happen in the Premier League, and try to factor in the ones that are going to be announced in the next sort of few minutes. But what do you think the signing of the window was from a Premier League club? Who do you see as being the kind of one that really made you jump and go take notice of it?
You know what? It pains me. It pains me to say it. It really pains me to say it. But I'm going to say you go to the United.
Yeah, definitely in there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um,
City Liverpool.
well, that remains to be seen. Um, where does Solanke rank for you in the transfer sort of this happened this one though? Because Spurs needed a striker. I know he played that one game against Leicester. He's been injured for the last few games this
hard to
weekend.
really say because he hasn't played much. I would have to see him in a run of games first and then see how he gets on. But I'd say going by if he can replicate his Bournemouth form from last year, he's of a player there. Well, to be fair, it got Liverpool nearly 10 million, so I'm happy with it. But I just think it's been a very strange window overall.
I think it's been a very topsy turvy one though. It's been up and down the whole way through.
Do you like that's what I said earlier? Do you think this is a sign of things to come in summer windows, or do you think we'll get them windows again where
I think
people
a lot of loans or loans is becoming the new thing, isn't it? A lot of obligations they buy and
because people can't afford to go out and straight buy them? Just checking my phone to see if there's any other news coming through. God, Fabrizio Romano mustn't sleep.
I'm hearing that Sterling's deal for Arsenal is done, barring any hitches in the medical.
Yep.
Documents were sent at 10:30 for the deal sheet. So,
Do you,
barring
do
any
you-
medical issue, he'll be an
people
Arsenal
were
player.
people were saying like I just said there Fabrizio Romano doesn't sleep, but surely he doesn't run his Twitter account the whole time.
Nah, he's probably got somebody else working for him.
Uh,
So, Owen, it's been an eventful deadline day. I think
yes.
everything that's happened is probably out there now. We've covered them all. Of course, these deals could take up to 1 o'clock to be confirmed. So, I mean, we would have a long time to be on here. So, I think it's looking like Sterling will go to Arsenal, Sancho will go to Chelsea, Nelson will go to Fulham,
Yep.
and a few of them other deals still to be confirmed. But it looking like a lot of those
I'm
deals will
glad.
happen. Victor Osimhen is going to be the big one that didn't happen. He didn't move. Mark Gay, he didn't move to Newcastle. Those
Do
two
you
are probably
think
the two
speaking
biggest
of,
sort of sagas that didn't happen.
speaking of Gahey, do you think Palace will keep that price for next summer, or do you think they'll bring it down?
Depends on how it is this year.
We could be talking the guts if we want 100. And as well, to be fair, Brantford didn't move from Everton. That was a thing that was looking likely, but I think he will move in the next year or so. But to be honest, I'm just glad that the transfer window is over now, so we can just full steam ahead with the football now.
Yeah. So before we come off, give me your top three transfers of the summer window.
Um, top three.
Well, this is incredible, Owen. We're not going off yet because we're getting more breaking news. And
What?
this is completely left field. Everton have made a very late move for Armando Broja. A deal sheet has gone on. Everton have agreed a loan deal with a
That's
30 million option to buy Ipswich Town. The deal fell through earlier. The Broja deal was off. There was no real chat. Then there was chat of it being revived. But I'm just hearing in the last 30 seconds or so that Everton have submitted a deal sheet. I'm confident they can get Armando Broja over the line before the 1 o'clock deadline, which would be the deal sheet. So just
uh,
as we're about to go off there, of course, more news comes through. Absolutely incredible. This is a crazy end of the window.
yeah. Bruges at Everton. You know what? I don't really rate him, and I'm not just saying that because he's gone to Everton. He had one
Well,
good season.
what we're hearing is Ipswich we're not happy. Because Broja was going to be out for. We're hearing Broja's not fit at the moment. He's out injured.
He's out
Ipswich
for
were
2 months
not
now.
happy with the terms of the deal, but Everton are desperate. And they've obviously gambled at the last minute here and went done.
Mm, it's a strange one because they have three strikers there.
Yeah, they've got Beto, they've got Calvert Lewin.
Calvert Lewin, and if they get Bruja, that'll be the third one. Um, so you were asking me for my top three deals of the window. I'll put Ugarte first. I'll put Solanke second, and you know what? If Sterling goes to Arsenal, I'll put that third. What about you?
Yeah, breaking news. Fabrizio Romano, Raheem Sterling, the Arsenal is done.
Yep,
All done.
we expected that.
So that deal shouldn't be far away from announcement.
Do you think
West
that makes
Ham,
Arsenal?
West
Do you think
Ham
that makes?
apparently have done the deal for Carlos Celerity. That's a done deal, and that's going to be announced some point in the next hour or so. So the Brogia one's come out of nowhere. It's a bit like a Nelson
Guys,
one. It happened at sort of the last knock-ins.
do you rate Bruja? Because I don't think he's that great,
I think it shows how desperate Everton are.
especially if he's not fit.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see. I mean, I don't foresee it, but I wonder if there's anything happening with Calvert Lewin because if Bruce is coming in and Beddo's there, there's Albert at the moment.
Do you think Calvert Lewin could be off the Saudi in the next few days?
Possibly could.
What an end to
Um,
the what an
but
end to the window.
yeah. Just to clarify, not only is Saudi Arabia open until Monday, but the Portuguese and the Dutch league is open the Monday. The Greek league to the September 11th, and the Turkish league to the 13th of September. And I do remember last year, Davis and Sanchez moved the Galatasaray on the final day of the Turkish window. So there
Yeah,
is
that's right.
options there for players that maybe didn't get moves. But in terms of the likes of your Osimhen's, I don't think he'd be going anywhere else other than Saudi with the money involved.
No,
But
I
for
can't.
players like we said, Sergio Reguilon, he could possibly get a move somewhere.
Yeah, I can't see Osimhen going to Turkey or anything. Just looking at my phone to see if there's any more news. No, everything that we've talked about. Oh, Reese Nelson, the Fulham is here we go.
Yeah, and that come out of nowhere, didn't it? I mean, that was he was going to Ipswich when we come on air, and then he's going to Fulham.
Do you know that Anfield sector account that does all the well he put up, thank God the window was shut up the Reds.
Hmm. Real Sociedad have confirmed this loan signing from West Ham of Naif Aguerd. And as it says, Carlos Soler is going to West Ham. So,
They
Owen,
must
I
have
think that is pretty much it. At
yep,
this stage, I know the Brugia won't come out in the last few seconds there, but it looks like that is it.
yep.
There's going to be a lot of deals between now and 1 o'clock trying to be finalised, but all the big stories I think are out there. Your top three again, just remind me: Sterling,
I'll go Sterling third just because I can't think of any good days really. I'll go Ugarte first and Solanke second.
Solanke.
What about you?
Oof.
It's hard, isn't it? Because there hasn't been really like standout deals. You know what? Actually, you know what? Conor Gallagher to Atletico Madrid too. I like that.
I think that's a good sign.
Yeah,
Um, I'm going to put Solanke in there, so I think he's going to do really well at Spurs.
yeah.
I'm going to put um, Pedro Neto in there. I think he's going to do over Chelsea as well.
If he stays fit.
And number one, because I think if he works on his end product, Manta for Brighton's going to be a superstar.
Mm. What about before we go then? What about your signing that you're not so keen on? Is there any that you'd be looking at doing?
Um, I have to put on João Felix on there.
I thought you were going to say
Because of
Keys.
his reputation. But the Chaser one's low risk, isn't it?
Yeah. You know what? I have
I'm gonna
one.
I'm going to put on as well. Dewsbury Hall at
I
Chelsea. I
was that's
don't
what
really
I was gonna say. I hate it.
don't make any sense at all when you're letting Gallagher go.
But
I hope.
thankfully,
Sorry,
thankfully now on podcast going forward, there'll be
yeah,
no
transfer
transfers,
cost.
just all about football.
And they make up the top three. I'm going to go for Delut at Man United.
Ooh, interesting.
So that will be the three that I think I
I
will
don't,
be scratching my head at.
I don't rate the lot at all.
No, and he's not really getting into the starting team, is he?
He will on Sunday probably.
Yeah, looking like Sterling is going to be one of the first announced here in this sort of last 2 hours of this deal sheet window. Um, and it's been an eventful summer. It's been a
Yep.
crazy end to the deadline day. We were thinking about doing this podcast, but we're going to wait to see what happened. And I think it was a great decision because so much has
Yep.
happened since we've come on air.
As I said
Um,
there, you'll be glad the podcast going forward just to talk about football and no transfer.
that's it. Before we come off air, transfer window's done. Who's the top four going to be?
I'm still sticking with Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Spurs.
I thought you would. Owen, thanks for coming on. It's been a busy day.
Yep.
I think it's time to get some
Oh,
rest now after these.
before
What?
before we go, we were going to speak about Derry. So what do you think of that?
Disappointing night for Derry, but you know what? Hey, you'd be a fool if he says he doesn't see it coming because away from home, just
It's rubbish.
same old story. They either draw 1-0, you bit 1-0 or 1-1, and when you're in that kind of situation,
I would
they
say
Virginia
that's
that one.
it's you never know, but I would say that's the league gone now.
They're up against it again now, aren't they? So run out of games, but we'll see. Owen, thanks for coming on. Been a really busy day. Of course, to make things better, the Premier League's back tomorrow.
Yep.
There's football to watch tomorrow. It all kicks off with Arsenal against Brighton. It culminates tomorrow with West Ham and Man City. And of course, you've got a bumper Super Sunday. You've got the Old Firm to kick you off, and then you've got Newcastle, Spurs, Man U, Liverpool before the dreaded international break, which I know a lot of people will be dreading. But so much football to enjoy this weekend. If you're looking for sort of more content about that, you can watch me and Owen's podcast from earlier on the channel where we did talk about deadline day, but there was lots of our content around last week's results and this week's games, and of course all the European draws in the Champions League, Group League, and Conference League were made in the last sort of 24 hours, 48 hours. So, Owen, it's been a great summer. Now it's time to buckle up. The winter isn't far away. The seasons will change. The leaves will start to fall. The snow will come. You'll be writing your list for Santa Claus. So all that to look forward to.
I'll be writing FSG, sign some players in January.
That's probably the reality of it. If you're new around here, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, and we'll see you after the weekend. Owen, thanks very much. It's been a really good summer. I hope you enjoyed yours, and let's get ready for the proper football season to start.
Yep. Cheers, everybody.